Sorry about that. Apparently, I didn't have my audio going. So anyway, George here again. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of the MSP Initiative Live. Welcome back from the Thanksgiving holiday if you're here in the US. Hopefully, everybody had a great Black Friday and Cyber Monday and just Thanksgiving holiday as a whole. I think Thanksgiving is a lost holiday, although this year a lot of the stores did not open super early on Thanksgiving, right? So hopefully they avoided all the lines that usually happen outside, especially if you're in a Walmart or a Best Buy or something like that. So hopefully everybody got some good deals. I didn't see anything jump off the screen, but I'm sure there was some stuff out there. We're in that crunch time now, right? This is like the last month to get all those invoices out, all that money in, all those projects completed, kind of wrap up the year, right? Does it all get done? Does it all not get done? Over the last few days, we heard about this new variant out of South Africa. Don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent, or what that means, but hopefully that doesn't mean a next month, 2, 3 wintertime period of restricted travel and lockdowns. If so, are you prepared for that? I don't know if anybody really wants to think about that, but it is a possibility. I'm sure everybody, knows that at some level. And then generally speaking, right? I mean, we're already seeing a lot of people plan for travel, even going into January, February, March. And, just even looking at flights ourselves, right? Some of these flights, especially going into the southern, kind of warmer climates from the northern areas of the country, right? I mean, people are clearly buying tickets to go warm when it's cold here. So it's very intriguing the next 3-4 months, right? Because a lot of X factor stuff that you don't have control over could pop up. And that doesn't stop us from talking about, the stuff that we should be doing, right? Closing out the year, figuring out what did you actually make money this year? Right? I mean, like if you're actually in a professional trade, like a peer group, accountability group, and there are a bunch of good ones out there, one of the things that they teach you is how to figure out your profitability. You probably shouldn't be waiting until the end of the year to do it, but it's tax time, and that's just something that happens granularly. But did you actually make money? Who are the customers that are actually generating you revenue versus customers that you're losing money on? I know nobody wants to send business away, but there is such a thing as good versus bad business. And then can you avoid the security conversation in terms of price increases, right? I've seen a lot of people in the forums online, the Facebooks and the Reddits and all those other places that are saying, hey, how do you handle price increases come next year? How do you announce that to your customers? What's the best strategy? Or, for the people that don't automatically have an escalator, in their agreement by default, which it seems to be a way that a lot of people do it. But if not, do you raise your hourly rates? Do you raise your reoccurring rates? Probably yes. A lot of people took a hit during the last 2 years, and hopefully that the economy stays stable. The goal is to try and continue down the line as if we're not in a problem time, right? However, there's a lot of people who didn't recover, right? So I'm sure there's a fine line, right, in between who you would approach and how price increases continue or not, right? A lot of people have kind of foregone any price increases, even contractually, just to keep things stable. But at some point, costs do go up. Your time does go up. Your people cost more. I always say 3% cost of living, right? Well, this year inflation is dramatically different in a bad way. So, 3% might not cut it, right? Based on what it's costing in different parts of the country, right? So these are all things that you have to figure out from a business aspect. I know we're all technology people here and we love to talk tech. That's what we geek out on. But at the end of the day, like we are in business to make money, all of us. And nobody's in, this isn't a nonprofit, hopefully for most of you. And I hope nobody's losing money, right? Because that's always an option that's on the table. So these are things that you got to hash out. If you don't know how to do it on your own, hopefully you'll see a professional. Otherwise, please, please, please reach out, and we'll recommend you to, again, some peer groups and some accountability groups where you effectively sign an NDA. You're working with other people that are not geographically in your region, and you effectively start understanding how it works by seeing what other people are doing in your realm, right? And figuring out what's the best practice, what's the right margin, what's the profitability percentage you should be shooting for. I'm sure everyone's heard at some point, like 20% to the bottom line is considered best in class, or people who are doing it right. So think about that, 20% to the bottom line. So are you netting 20% after your interest and depreciation and cost? So some people are not. Some people are doing it on the bare bones. So think about that as you get to the end of the year, and think about how you go into next year, and think about the people who are barely, paying for things now. When you want to add things, will they even be willing to talk about what they need to do to kind of progress, right? And take their risk caliber down a little bit. Couple of things that are worth mentioning, right? Because obviously we all know that bad things happen during holidays. So hopefully nobody got hacked or ransomware or anything during Thanksgiving. But in the upcoming Christmas-ish, New Year's time, and all the other holidays that kind of get wrapped into this time of the year, if you don't have the security, I guess my suggestion for you is unplug it from the wall. I mean, because these holiday times when people are not in front of their computers, but all these systems are there, right, available to be, to be hit. That's when bad things seem to happen, especially this past year or so. So I say it kind of tongue in cheek, but you may want to literally unplug it from the wall if you have customers that literally don't have what they need, and you don't want to be in a situation where you got to rebuild people, which I think we all know, depending on the size of the customer, can take a lot longer than you have bandwidth to give, right? So, consider that. Don't take your eye off the ball as you get into this holiday period, because again, that's when the bad guys come out to play. All of that being said, I'm just looking at kind of the news feeds, as I kind of pull from like 40, 50, 60 different RSS feeds, kind of see what's happening out in the world. A lot of transactions, right, we saw happen this year between companies merging, getting acquired, what have you. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 1 or 2 or 3 more pop up between the end of the year. I know Quest, Joe P from Channel EDE just mentioned Quest, but I don't think a lot of people in our space maybe use Quest, at the SMB level. But I think you'll see a bunch of transactions hit before the end of the year. I know a lot of people are looking at impending tax rule changes potentially, especially with capital gains, if that ever gets modified under the existing administration. So don't be surprised if you see some names pop up between now and December 31st before the year closes out, and we're still under the existing rules. So keep your eyes on that. But yeah, that Quest deal that Joe P mentioned, $5.4 billion. Quest has been bought and gone private and sold again a few times. Not that anyone in our space probably uses that at our level, SMB land, but something to understand. The other thing that came out big ish, so obviously VMware and Dell kind of finally broke apart a little bit. But Dell is really pushing on hardware as a service all of a sudden. I'm sure they've been doing it for a while, but they seem to think that there's a big play of it going into 2022. So it's intriguing, right? With the whole hardware as a service, where you're worried about your customer paying their bill. We talk about all this Microsoft stuff, which, by the way, if anybody hasn't been paying attention, that Microsoft NCE, New Commerce Experience, looks like it got pushed back to June from March. So if you didn't think you had enough time, you got a little bit more time. I don't know what that means, right? There's some people out there whispering that they've just bought themselves a little bit more time to get more feedback and understand where people are not happy. I hope so. That petition's still floating around if you haven't signed it, right? The MSP kind of, Microsoft, please do not double tax us from staying month to month. But if you're doing hardware as a service, imagine, we're already talking about Microsoft, kind of giving the MSP the shaft a little bit by saying, hey, if your end customer disappears, you're still on the hook for the term of whatever they agree to. It's pretty crappy, in my opinion. How do you handle hardware as a service then? right? Like especially if you're doing it on your bank account, right? There's a lot of hardware as a service programs out there where the deal is with the end customer, right? So if something happens, you're not stuck in between. But if you decided to take money out of your pocket and then go and front it, right? Thinking that you'll make your money back over time, what happens if your customer doesn't pay, goes out of business, disappears, right? So there's also something to take into account that's been happening more recently, which is these remote employees, right? It may not even be that it's the company's fault, right? Like I come to a guy like Darren. What's up, Darren? If you want to pop in, feel free. I always love your commentary. Let's say I go to a guy like Darren and Darren runs a XYZ business. I don't care, whatever it is. And then Darren takes my hardware as a service machine and assigns it to a new remote employee. And that remote employee looks like they're going to work out, but then all of a sudden doesn't work out and never sends that equipment back. Think about that scenario, right? How do you, as the person who's fronting that equipment as part of the deal, the MSP, protect yourself in that situation? It's really something you really got to think about more because it's happening, right? We all hear about the great resignation or whatever it is, people not wanting to come back to work in person, whatever. Well, okay, all these remote employees need equipment, right? And so a lot of the companies are sending this equipment out there, and then all of a sudden they're on the hook for if that equipment doesn't come back, right? So obviously you need to protect yourself as a service provider. It's not your fault that an employee of your customer doesn't return their stuff back, but could put you in a difficult conversation if that happens on a regular basis, which of course you don't know, right? Because the job market's all over the place and so on and so forth. So keep that in the back of your head. I know I've talked to a few people about that recently, and I don't think anyone's totally cracked it yet. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, Dell came out and said they think hardware as a service is gonna be huge for them in 2022. Although their channel program seems to be all over the place now. And what else is new? Of course, there's other players out there. I know Lenovo is pushing a bunch of stuff. And again, it all just comes down to where can you get it from, right? Because shortages, etc. So there's that. I saw a funny post online saying that Tesla in China is moving from Intel CPUs to AMD. I guess it's just easier for them to get the AMD processors because nobody else are buying them. Haha. But yeah, I thought that was funny, right? The processor wars and now the great processor shortage. So, we'll see where this whole chip thing goes on. I don't like hearing 5-month delays. Hopefully servers are not seeing the same delays as workstations and laptops and desktops. I think laptops are in pretty high demand, maybe not as much as desktops, but I digress. I did see that Apple came out with their kind of updated lineup for their MacBook. They're saying that Apple Glass, right, their competitor to what I think is still out there, Google Glass, will be as powerful as their MacBook, the glasses. I don't know how you're going to put that much horsepower into a frame of a glass, but we're in that world, right? Things are getting smaller. So consider that. I don't know if the cell phones obviously took off, the wearables kind of took off. Google Glass kind of never went anywhere per se, right? They were just a little bit too expensive. So I don't know where that goes, but they said that the Apple Glass, which comes out next year, will have as much horsepower as a MacBook. Craziness, man. Absolute craziness. So we'll see how that does with the
George, I miss my Google Glass. That's all I'll say. Okay.
Did you actually have one?
Oh yeah, absolutely, I did.
Yep. How did it work? I never used it. I never had it.
I picked it up at the Google store in Manhattan. It was a whole big thing, and they gave you, it was awesome. And then the thing just stopped working because they stopped. It was very underpowered. That was the problem. But I actually was pretty cool. So.
Well, we'll see how it works. Right. I kind of remember that was all the rage about Pokemon Go when it came out, and you're walking around and it's like on the screen and it's augmented reality. That's what I think when I think Google Glass or Apple Glass, right? Where they just superimpose stuff. Obviously, don't think it makes sense if you're going to be driving with something like that, but or let alone crossing the street, right? That could be a problem, but could be an interesting thing. Could. Yeah, I assume that just like your cell phone, you'll probably get insurance on that, right? Because if it gets lost or stolen, pretty expensive set of glasses there. Probably like what, $2,500, something like that. So something to consider. Something to consider there. So, but anyway, getting back into the mix. So yeah, I was mentioning earlier that Microsoft stuff got pushed from March until June. Gives you a little bit more time to talk to your customers and figure out your strategy. Like I said, I think things will change there, hopefully, or that's what we're hearing. Obviously, we'll see it when we see it, but gives you a little bit more time to figure out your plan. I know some people had already increased their pricing starting January to cover what the increase was going to be in March, and now it's being pushed off to June. I bet you those people just don't change anything, right? Just leave everything as is because they've already spent the time to talk to their customers. But yeah, that's you got a little bit of a reprieve. Hopefully they come back and adjust the program a little bit, because yeah, it'll be pretty salty if they continue as is. I don't know if anyone saw, I don't know if anyone cares. Twitter CEO stepped down as being replaced by the CTO. So Jack Dorsey is out. I don't know if anybody cares, but I didn't think he was a really good CEO, and we'll see if the new guy's any better or worse. But the social media platforms, yeah, oof. I'm sure a lot of new stuff. We all talk about legislation. That's one where I think something's got to come to clear that up. But the other thing that I'm worried about in this. Oh, by the way, Spider-Man's coming out, right? That's the big movie that's coming out in December. Spider-Man: No Way Home. So all of your Marvel fans out there, I think tickets are already on sale. Go get them. But I don't know if anybody watched the Eternals. I know that was out there, but oof. I didn't even get a chance to see it before they already said, oh, it's going to be on Disney Plus. And I was like, all right, I'll just wait for it to show up on Disney Plus. But yeah, Spider-Man: No Way Home coming out in December. So get your tickets. No, I was saying, I'm sure Darren can't wait to start tracking his mileage on all his various vehicles, because I know he drives a lot, maybe more than me sometimes. But apparently there's this pilot program, right, that's going to start in 2022 that got passed as part of this infrastructure bill, where they're going to start potentially taxing people per mile driven. What do you think about that, Darren? You worried about that, buddy? You ready to pay like 6 cents a mile for every mile you drive?
No, I don't like that idea at all, George. No.
Yeah.
I do not. I do not.
I mean, you have a few vehicles, and you definitely drive at least a lot on one, but could you imagine at the end of the year, instead of getting a tax credit for all that business travel, you actually have to pay?
Yeah. I mean, I track my mileage anyway, just for various reasons, but I don't want to pay on it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Not good.
So.
Not good. And the other thing that seems to be finally popping up is this multi-SIM cell phone. Anybody play with the eSIMs, right? Where you can have more than one SIM card on your cell phone. It looks like Android and iPhone both have this multi-SIM capability now. I know this is something that's been overseas for a long, long time. Like overseas, it's not uncommon for you to like roll up to a vending machine, pop a SIM card into your phone and keep going. I know that's not normal here. I know that what we offer here is not great, especially for people coming at overseas. But I remember when I would walk into an Australia or UK or whatever, they literally have this unlimited SIM cards or even metered SIM cards literally on the wall, vending machine style. So don't know how that changes things here. But yeah, I feel like everybody's pretty much on this replace your phone every year plan, or at least every 2, right? So could be interesting to see how, people are going to switch things up. I still don't know how 5G, I would rather take the fiber to the home or to the building over the 5G. They keep on saying 5G is going to revolutionize everything and it's going to make the local area network disappear. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not seeing that. Maybe I'm a little bit short-sighted, but I mean, think about how many devices per house, right? 10, 15, 20 devices, between your cameras and your smoke detectors and your TVs and your Ring doorbells and your gaming consoles and all the stuff that you have connected. Think about that, right? What's the average number of devices per building, per household? Yeah. Could you imagine all of that being on a 5G public network? I'm not feeling good about that. So we'll see how the whole 5G thing happens. To be honest with you, I think 5G was just lipstick on 4G. I never think that the speeds ever got to where they were. But you see all the commercials now, right? High capacity 5G, T-Mobile, this, that, and the other. So the cell phone wars continue, but be interesting to see if cutting the cord means also cutting the landline cable, coax or fiber, or whatever, to your building, right? Obviously think that's still a little bit more reliable than the local tower, especially in an emergency situation, right? Where there's like a weather situation or something like that. Those cell phone towers have battery backups on them, but they're only going to last for so long. So not exactly feeling super confident about that. Darren, how'd you make out on Black Friday, buddy? Did you get anything good? Black Friday, Cyber Monday?
No, I didn't pay much. There were a couple little things, but nothing spectacular. It's too much time and effort, honestly, to, I look at a couple sites and I got a few things, but nothing really of note. So
right on.
I got a free box of cereal from one of the Magic Spoon cereal that I like. That's maybe that's the highlight. I don't know.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with cereal, man. I love cereal.
Magic Spoon. You got to try Magic Spoon, George. It's a new thing.
I've never heard of it. I'll give it a try.
All the cool kids are doing it, George. Come on.
Okay. All right. We'll have to have that at the next party.
Yeah.
Which speaking of which, the next party might be at a favorite vendor of yours there, Darren.
I would hope that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Keep me posted.
Yeah, I mean it's in the works. That's third week of February. If you're not going to Cancun, you might be going to Orlando.
I have a limited range that week, but we'll talk.
Right on. So if everybody doesn't know, right, there's two conferences that I'm not sure they didn't plan it this way, and I'm sure if they could go back and adjust it, they would. But you have Nerdio's conference, which is in Cancun. First time I've seen that as a conference location. Obviously cold here, warm there. Cold here. I mean, I'm outside Philadelphia, but hopefully, if you're in a warm spot, you're like, no, I'm good. But yeah, so they have the Nerdio conference in Cancun. Same time they have the Threat Locker conference. Excuse me, in Orlando. So if you're looking for a place to hit for a work reason, to get out of the cold, one of those two could be your place. So check it out. NerdioCon, just Google it, and then Zero Trust World, I think that's .com. If not, Google that. But those are coming up in February, and towards the end of February, after the Super Bowl. So if you're an NFL fan, shouldn't conflict with your Super Bowl party. All of that being said, yeah, we might be throwing another. If you're able to join us at our IT Nation and just generally Orlando Bash community party, we might be able to do something similar in February. So definitely look at your calendars. I know it's hard to think February 2022 right now because everybody's in end of year mode, but I think next year is going to be event crazy. That's my opinion. I've already seen some of the consolidated schedules come out. Plenty of things to choose from, maybe even too many things. So I'm hopeful that, again, we don't have another variant style, travel restriction or something like that. And 2022 or 2022 will be very much like 2019 when it comes to the travel season. So all of that being said, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time back. Please come back on Thursday. Again, we have guests all the way through the end of the year, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Don't forget our giveaway, right? Our monthly prize giveaway. No purchase necessary. Just go to mspinitiative.com under giveaway and just sign up and you basically throw your name in the hat. Maybe you win. Nothing to lose. And we'll keep you up to date on what's coming up in 2022. But we have some good guests before the end of the year, and we're going to continue MSP Initiative Live and try and change, bring you some interesting content, bring you some interesting people, and ultimately give you an opportunity to hear from people you ultimately may not be able to get to on a regular basis, unless you're Darren and you have people on your cell phone. You just call them direct, or text, or emoji. All right, guys. Follow us on mspinitiative.com. This session's online as well as every other session. We'll catch you again on Thursday. Have a good week. Bye.